and I saw this, as I say, described to me like this boiling in the water.
Those who make their living from this as zoologists are not ready to believe on the basis of one picture that something that should have been dead 65 million years ago is still existing in some form at Loch Ness Skyline.
You've got to believe it before you can see it.
Do you believe Loch Ness tonight from 7:05 on 4?
And before we start our evening with that Scottish legend here on 4, there's a news summary from Lindsay Taylor. Next.
For 100 years, Ford has stood for value for money. Today, our product range is the most exciting ever, but our quest for value continues. The 1999 Ford feature models combine our most advanced technology, the best looks, and the most desirable equipment with our most affordable finance. Why would you settle for less? The 1999 Ford feature models. All you ever wanted.
Hey, look, I can see kids. Give them a wave.
I'm shaking it.
I'm not shaking it.
I want to get off.
Crying out loud, it's a roller coaster. Just enjoy yourself. It's going to be great.
Scary day? Tell someone about it.
I've still got the blisters on my hands to prove it. I was holding on that time.
BT, it's good to talk.
Right now at Lung Poly, you can get £100 off per couple plus free insurance on Thomson Summer Sun Holidays.
It's about time you change your Glade plug-ins refill. Change them every 45 days to keep your home Glade fresh.
Our world is changing. And we're taking more responsibility than ever before. For our children's education, the welfare of our families, and our retirement. We're forming new attitudes to life and money. So what about banking? Can that stay the same? We think banking needs to change. And this is just the beginning.
We all tend to overindulge at Christmas. But if you want to try getting back into your genes, read my diet and exercise plan only in this weekend's News of the World. I'm Monica Grenfell, and I could help you lose weight while eating 3 nutritious meals a day. The News of the World. It's what Sundays are all about.
This time next year, why we won't be celebrating the millennium on the right day, why technology will be at a standstill, why stock markets may crash, why there'll be more cult suicides, and just how we got to the year 2000. Apocalypse when? Sunday at 6:30 on 4.
Now, with the time approaching 5 to 7, here's a Channel 4 news summary with Lindsay Taylor.
Good evening. A remote community in Canada has been struck by a freak avalanche. 9 people have died and many others are injured. A huge wall of snow crashed into the school gymnasium where hundreds of revellers were celebrating the new year. And England's chalked up another Ashes cricket success down under, thanks to a remarkable hat-trick by Darren Gough. 9 people, including 5 children, have been killed by an avalanche in northern Canada. A freak wall of snow engulfed a school gymnasium where hundreds were celebrating the new year. The avalanche buried the gym in a remote Inuit village, trapping the revellers under 3 metres of snow. Kirsty Lang has the details.
It was a frantic search through the night. A wall of snow had slid down the hill and crashed into the local school where the Inuit villagers were celebrating New Year. The body of one young mother was not found till many hours later. She'd suffocated under the snow with her 2 children. Survivors describe how they dug themselves out however they could. One woman even used a frying pan from the school kitchen. Rescuers were hampered by temperatures of -20 and winds of 60 miles an hour. A wall of the school gym had fallen through onto the New Year's revellers. Inside they'd been enjoying a feast of seal and caribou meat. The avalanche may have been triggered by a ceremonial gun salute 90 minutes beforehand. An aeroplane was sent to transport the injured from this remote coastal region of Quebec. The nearest hospital is 950 miles south in the city of Montreal. The village itself only has 1 doctor and 2 policemen. In all, 12 patients were taken to the capital for treatment.
They're all in critical condition, but stable. There are some that required some intervention initially when they came into the department. A patient needed to be intubated. The tests are ongoing. They all need CAT scans and X-rays, so it's still very early.
The Inuit village of Kanjik-Suanujuak has fewer than 600 inhabitants. Most of them were at the New Year's Eve party. The majority of the dead are children. Nobody in this tiny community will be left untouched by the tragedy.
And here, an urgent avalanche warning has been issued to climbers and walkers in the Scottish Highlands after fresh falls of snow and strong winds. Experts say the danger is most acute in the Lochaber area, where 4 people died on Tuesday. Lorry drivers face losing their vehicles under government plans to crack down on illegal immigrants stowing away on board. The move, which comes on top of proposals to impose hefty fines whenever a would-be immigrant is discovered, has met with an angry reaction from the Road Haulage Association. An estimated 8,000 illegal immigrants came into the country in the back of lorries in 1997. Many drivers, like this one, do check their loads to see if there are any stowaways, but the government clearly believes not enough do. Now, as well as fining lorry drivers or owners £2,000 for every illegal immigrant found, it plans to impound their vehicles until the fines are paid.
For too long, the lorry drivers have had their head in the sand. They've been refusing to acknowledge this problem. It's costing the taxpayer hundreds of millions of pounds. It's got to stop. This is a tough policy, but it's necessary.
But the new laws, due to be introduced later this year, have been attacked by road hauliers as a ludicrous move that won't solve the problem. They say the solution is tighter controls on the other side of the channel.
It will be very, very damaging for our members indeed. If they have their vehicles impounded, that will be their livelihoods put at risk. If they face fines, that will put their livelihoods at risk. Rather than targeting the haulage industry, the government should be working with us and attempting to crack down on the criminal godfathers who are masterminding this smuggling operation and who are directly profiting from this traffic in human misery.
Thousands of children are being given antibiotics over the next few days as a precautionary measure after 3 youngsters died from meningitis. 2 teenagers at the same school in South Yorkshire died within 24 hours of each other. Health officials in Rotherham have set up helplines and will distribute antibiotics to other students tomorrow. Pupils at 2 schools in Gateshead will also be offered jabs after the death of a 12-year-old child. Hundreds of Orangemen in Portadown have taken part in protests against the ban on parading along the mainly nationalist Garvaghy Road. They marched up to police barricades and handed in a letter of protest. The Orangemen and local residents were kept apart, but a marching band played music as it passed a Catholic church against the orders of the Parades Commission. As the euro prepares to hit the world's exchange markets on Monday, bankers across the continent say conversion to the new currency is running ahead of schedule. Thousands of staff have been working around the clock to make sure trading in the euro goes smoothly. Although Britain hasn't even signed up, it's already in use in other countries. Customers at the leading French supermarket, Leclerc, have been able to buy goods priced in euros with cheques or credit cards. A diplomatic row is growing over claims that Yemeni security chiefs knew that Islamic militants were planning an attack on a British target days before 16 tourists were kidnapped. As the bodies of the 3 Britons who died are flown home this evening, the Foreign Office said it had never been given any warnings. Peter Wilson reports.
It's now believed the Yemeni intelligence authorities were tipped off as early as December the 23rd, 5 days before the kidnap and subsequent shootout, that an attack on British targets was likely. But they failed to alert the British embassy, which might otherwise have been able to alert tourists visiting the region. Yemen is one of the world's most heavily armed countries, with 50 million automatic rifles for a population of 16 million. Some Middle East observers feel the tragedy in which 4 Western hostages died could easily have been avoided.
The British government should share the blames because, in the Middle East, there are a lot of calls to take revenge of the American and the British personnel and interest. The American government was very clever. They closed 40 embassies in Africa because they expected attacks on these embassies before the military strikes against Iraq. So the responsibility should be shared by both the Yemeni government and the British government.
The Foreign Office said tonight it had issued new guidelines to travellers just before Christmas, advising tourists to read newspapers and warning of kidnaps and carjacks. Yemen has now become the newest name on the Foreign Office list of 28 world danger spots, where they advise essential business trips only.
22 members of the same family have been murdered in an overnight attack on their village in southwestern Algeria. The security forces said the massacre took place in El Bayad province, 240 miles southwest of the capital Algiers. Troops are searching for the killers. They're blaming the extremist armed Islamic group. Sport now, and the FA Cup's 3rd round produced its traditional quota of drama, as small teams faced big-name clubs in several of today's 28 ties. But the greatest celebrations were probably in the Northampton town of Rushden, where non-league Rushden and Diamonds won a rematch by holding Premiership club Leeds to a 0-0 draw. In cricket, and England have continued their recent success in Australia. Darren Gough has become the first player this century to take a hat-trick in an Ashes test. On the opening day of the 5th test in Sydney, England bowled out the Australians for 322. The last 5 wickets went for 3 runs. Sue Turton reports.
England lost the toss yet again for the 5th time in a row, but still got off to a flying start. Mark Taylor was sent packing by Dean Headley after just 2 runs. Headley was one of the heroes of the Melbourne match. The safe pair of hands here belonged to Graham Hick. But Justin Langer proved difficult to shift. He certainly thought he was on his way to the pavilion, but a no ball was given. And then another close call, as Langer reaches for the crease. The 3rd umpire is called upon to check the video. It does look to be right on the line, which would be out. But on goes the green light and Langer survives. Then the wickets start to fall. Mark Slater goes first, then Langer, until the War Twins take up their familiar story. Steve hits 96, Mark 121 before being caught by the wicket-keeper. But it was this Yorkshireman who really turned the tables. First Ian Healy, then Stuart McGill, and then Colin Miller. Darren Gough with the first hat-trick by an Englishman against Australia since 1899. The last 5 wickets went for just 3 runs in 15 balls. Headley was left to finish them off all out for 322, and the series is far from over.
Finally, the weather. Tonight, a band of heavy rain and strong wind will sweep eastwards across Britain, reaching gale force in exposed areas. However, the worst of it should clear by tomorrow morning, and the rest of the day will be a blustery mixture of showers and sunny spells. And there's more windy weather on the way next week, and gales in places, along with frequent showers and the odd patch of sunshine. Some news on our outlook from next week. We'll have a new half-hour programme on Saturdays at 6:30 with all the main news and sport. But for now, that's all from the Channel 4 News team. Have a very good weekend, or what's left of it. Goodbye.